Imagine waking up to a world you no longer recognize, a world stripped bare, silent, and desolate. The remnants of a once bustling metropolis are now a ghost town, echoing with the screams of the recently departed, or something far worse. This is the chilling reality that confronts Jim in 28 Days Later, a film that didn't just tell a zombie story, it redefined an entire genre. Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later, released in 2002, injected the zombie genre with a shot of adrenaline, transforming the nature of the undead into something extraordinary, making them fast and overwhelmingly aggressive. More than just a horror film, it's a survival story and a stark commentary on human nature in the face of unimaginable catastrophe. Today, we'll delve into the film's enduring legacy and explore how it revolutionized zombie cinema. The story begins with a chilling premise. Animal rights activists break into a secure research facility. Their goal is to free chimpanzees infected with a highly contagious and devastating rage virus. Ignoring clear warnings, their actions trigger a catastrophic outbreak of extreme aggression. The rage virus is transmitted through bodily fluids, turning its victims into violent, homicidal beings within seconds. Director Danny Boyle, in this opening sequence, subverts traditional zombie ideas, grounding the resulting horror in human error and scientific arrogance. We are introduced to Jim, who wakes up from a coma in a deserted hospital in London 28 days after the initial outbreak. His initial confusion quickly turns to stark terror when he encounters the infected. Rescued from near death by fellow survivors Selena and Mark, Jim is confronted with the horrifying reality of the apocalypse. By placing the audience alongside a character experiencing this devastation firsthand, the movie amplifies the sense of vulnerability and dread. The main story follows Jim, Selena, and Mark as they navigate the shattered world seeking refuge and struggling to preserve their humanity. Unfortunately, Mark gets infected, and Selena, with ruthless efficiency, kills him to prevent his transformation. Later, Jim and Selena meet a cab driver, Frank, and his daughter, Hannah, and they join Jim and Selena on a journey to what they hope is a safe zone. Their desperate journey leads them to a military blockade, where they discover that the human element can be as dangerous, if not more so, than the infected, raising complex questions about morality and societal breakdown. The movie concludes with two distinct endings. The alternate ending concludes with Jim's death from a gunshot wound, a stark reminder of the fragility of life in this post-apocalyptic landscape. In contrast, the theatrical ending offers a more optimistic conclusion, with Jim surviving and hinting at the potential for humanity's recovery. 28 Days Later fundamentally changed the zombie genre with its introduction of the infected. These are not the slow-moving, tired-looking undead that classic zombie movies portray. Instead, they act like living humans, except their minds have been taken over by an uncontrollable rage, showing terrifying speed and agility. This radical departure from established ideas injects a new level of intensity and fear, aiming to redefine the concept of zombies for a contemporary audience. The infected in 28 Days Later are not reanimated corpses. They are, in fact, living individuals, and their aggression is greatly increased by the viral infection. This difference, compared with the previous knowledge of zombies, makes them more believable and, as a result, more terrifying. Their enhanced speed and ferocity make every encounter more heart-wrenching and deadly, and make outcomes more uncertain. The film effectively portrays the rapid and brutal nature of this transformation, highlighting the tragic immediacy with which individuals lose their humanity. Not that they actually die, but they lose their senses. This portrayal of fast, aggressive infection has had a significant and lasting influence on popular culture. Subsequent films and television series, including World War Z and The Walking Dead, have incorporated faster versions, clearly showing the influence of 28 Days Later. This influence extends to video games as well, with titles like Left 4 Dead, Dying Light, and Dead Island featuring fast, agile infected. This now common idea can be directly attributed to 28 Days Later, but this innovation wasn't limited to just the creatures themselves. The audience viscerally experiences the desperation in each character, their fear of death, and their relentless struggle for survival within this shattered and hostile environment. This frantic and almost chaotic visual style is a defining characteristic of the film, influencing countless subsequent horror films and action sequences. The film's visual style goes beyond basic aesthetic choice. It functions as a powerful narrative tool. It effectively communicates the sheer speed and violence of the infected, the profound fragility of human existence in the face of such a threat, and the overwhelming scale of the devastation. A key element that sets 28 Days Later apart from 20th century and earlier 21st century zombie movies is its emphasis on scientific plausibility. The film uses the rage virus, which, though fictional, is a disturbingly believable pathogen that induces extreme and uncontrollable aggression. This, grounded on scientific principles rather than supernatural elements, alters the nature of the horror presented and contributes to the film's enduring impact and resonance. Instead of relying on reanimation or mystical forces, 28 Days Later portrays the infection as a highly contagious and rapidly spreading disease, transmitted through bodily fluids and directly impacting the brain. The infected are not undead. They are living individuals driven to violence by the virus, a concept that lends a chilling and unsettling realism to their actions. The sheer speed with which the virus takes hold, overriding rational thought and unleashing primal instincts, is a central element of the film's terror. This focus on a biological cause, rather than a supernatural one, where the victims die and rise again, makes all the difference. While seemingly focused on mindless hordes, the zombie subgenre provides a rich and versatile framework for exploring societal anxieties and fears. Two prominent films, World War Z and, of course, 28 Days Later, exemplify this, each presenting a distinct and compelling vision of a world overrun by the infected. While both films contribute to the ongoing evolution of the genre, they diverge in several significant ways. In 28 Days Later, the rage virus is explicitly presented as a man-made phenomenon. This origin serves as a crisp warning about humanity's capacity for self-destruction and the potential consequences of unchecked scientific ambition. On the other hand, World War Z employs a more ambiguous viral origin, allowing the narrative to focus primarily on the global scale of the outbreak and its far-reaching geopolitical outcome. The infected themselves also present contrasting images. 28 Days Later portrays the victims of rage as terrifyingly fast and agile, emphasizing the visceral horror of close-quarters combat and the brutal breakdown of individual survival. World War Z, while also featuring rapid movement, distinguishes its infected by their swarming behavior and collective intelligence, creating a sense of scale and unstoppable threat, highlighting the collapse of global infrastructure and interconnectedness. Ultimately, both movies offer valuable, distinct contributions to the zombie genre. 28 Days Later remains a landmark for its reinvigoration of the infected and its gritty, unflinching realism, while World War Z delivers a more global and action-packed vision, one that often prioritizes spectacle over sustained realism. If a cure is unattainable, if the rage virus results in permanent and inescapable transformation, does the technicality of being alive have any real meaning or value? These individuals are, for all intents and purposes, trapped in perpetual torment, a psychological prison from which there is no escape. Their humanity is irretrievably lost. They exist solely to spread this thing, this profound loss of self and obliteration of individual identity and agency resonates with narratives exploring similar themes of transformation, loss, and the erosion of the human condition. Consider, for example, the infected in The Last of Us. Again, we encounter beings who are not undead. They have not died, but have undergone a distorted and disturbing transformation, their bodies and minds hijacked by a parasitic fungus that exerts complete control, using them as agents to further its own propagation. The person who existed before the infection is effectively erased, replaced by a biological puppet, a grotesque extension of the fungus's will. The end result, in both 28 Days Later and The Last of Us, is tragically similar. A being driven by something other than human consciousness, forever denied their former life and condemned to a state of perpetual alienation and suffering. They wander, driven by primal instinct, seeking only to spread their condition. Their mindless actions often serving as a chilling reflection of a broken and diseased society, prompting profound questions about societal collapse, the nature of consciousness, and the very definition of human existence. 28 Days Later and The Last of Us offer a chilling alternative to the traditional concept of the undead, a fate where the body endures but the soul, the mind, the very essence of the person is permanently extinguished. The classification of 28 Days Later within the broader horror genre and its relationship to the zombie movie subgenre has been a subject of ongoing debate among film critics, genre enthusiasts, and the film's creative minds.
To use for the story.
Director Danny Boyle and star Cillian Murphy believe that the film goes beyond the traditional boundaries of the genre and should not be strictly categorized as a zombie movie. Murphy, drawing on the film's production context during the SARS outbreak, explained that the film tapped into the anxieties of that moment, focusing on the societal breakdown, the fragility of order, and the raw, primal emotion of rage. He further stated that he did not consciously reference traditional zombie films, emphasizing the film's grounding in a specific socio-political and cultural context. Writer Alex Garland offers a contrasting perspective. Garland definitively states, "It's a zombie movie," while acknowledging the technical discrepancies stemming from the unique nature of the rage virus and its effects on the infected. He considers them functionally pretty much zombies, emphasizing their role within the narrative and their adherence to core genre conventions. This difference in opinion between the director, cast, and writer adds complexity to the film's interpretation and categorization, highlighting the subjective nature of genre classification and its evolving boundaries. Interestingly, Alex Garland cites the first Resident Evil video game as a significant source of inspiration. Garland stated that the game sparked the realization that there hadn't been a compelling zombie film in a while. Garland was particularly struck by the game's opening sequence, in which the player explores a seemingly deserted mansion, the silence punctuated by unsettling sounds. This pervasive atmosphere of creeping dread, of isolation in a space that should be familiar but is now alien and threatening, directly influences the opening scenes of 28 Days Later, where Jim awakens in a deserted London hospital and wanders the eerily empty streets, capturing a similar tone. Garland was also inspired by the game's depiction of enemies. While Resident Evil zombies are generally slow-moving, the infected dogs exhibited remarkable speed and unpredictability, serving as a key inspiration for 28 Days Later's fast-moving and relentlessly aggressive infected. The game's emphasis on survival horror, player vulnerability, and the constant threat of attack resonated with Garland and informed his approach to the film's narrative, pacing, and tone. The influence of Resident Evil is evident in 28 Days Later's oppressive atmosphere, its use of confined spaces to heighten tension, and its portrayal of the infected as a relentless, overwhelming force. We've seen movies that project zombies as slow, often easy to maneuver, and causing no real threat until they are close. However, 28 Days Later portrays a world where the zombies are fully ready to jump, dive, and run to meet their victims. This change in the structure of how zombie movies work leaves us with a new kind of thought, that zombies could actually think and act better than they can. It also influences the character of legendary zombie horror thrillers like The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, or Zombie Apocalypse. In a rapidly changing world of horror, 28 Days Later uncovers the effects of scientific experiments on the continuity of mankind. If you haven't seen a zombie horror movie that scared you senseless, then you shouldn't skip watching 28 Days Later. This movie will throw you deep into the cosmic veil of death, anxiety, and the rush of fear. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe. In the end,
we move.